Giagwitch, welcome everybody. I hope you all are doing awesome. The purpose of today's video, I thought it would be really cool to run through Highlander's stuff, his armor, some of his weapons, maybe some ornaments, and talk about the references that are being made, whether it be in Scottish or Irish. There's like a lot of cool references that are being made in his armor sets, especially, and I feel like it'd be really useful to go over them. And there'll also be a reference on another character that I'm gonna hit because it's the only other Irish you see in the game. Let's go and get started with it though. We'll start with armor. Okay, so the first one we're gonna run into is the default set. It's known as the Scotty set. Now, Scotty is not a Celtic word, but it's the Latin word for all the Gaels. Now, this is a really old Latin word, and later on in history, it became the word to reference only Northern British Gaelic people. Alright, so up next, we've actually got the Honest armor. Now, this is most likely where we get the name Angus, but in Irish, it's pronounced Honest. Now, in Irish mythology, Honest is the god of love and youth. This is one of the default armor sets, too. It's very, very, very low tier, but it's awesome. It's a cool reference to it. Alright, so one of the more popular sets that people use, this and the Dreadful Exodus variant, is the Bibe chest. Now, Bibe is a Celtic but primarily Irish reference. Bibe was an Irish war goddess, but also a crow goddess, and was a member of the deity the Morrigan. So the Matcha set's also a really interesting reference to Irish mythology. So Matcha was a goddess of many things, primarily war and horses, and is also one of the three deities that make up the Morrigan. So if you keep up with my channel, you know I just made a video referencing the Morrigan. If you haven't seen that, I recommend go checking that out. It's a recent video called Renounce the Morrigan. It's a super fun Highlander montage that plays a lot into mythology. And once again, we've got armor that references Irish mythology. So the Morrigan's a triple goddess made up of Morrigan, Matcha, and Bibe. And Morrigan specifically is the goddess of chaos and war, and is definitely not somebody you want to be on the bad side of. Hey, would you look at that? It's more Irish in Highlander. Ah, good things. So we're looking at the Alatha armor set. And Alatha was a king of the Fomorians, or in Irish, Fomor. And the Fomor were giants and monstrous beings that came from below the earth and under the sea. In some stories, they're depicted as like sea raiders and giants. But Alatha was a king of them. So, funny as it is, well, the next one we're looking at has nothing to do with Ireland. Has nothing to do with Irish. It doesn't have anything to do with mythology. We'll look at the Hebrides armor set. Now, Hebrides is, like I said, it's not a reference to gods or goddesses or peoples. It's referencing an archipelago in Scotland, which is called Hebrides. Just a reference to a place in Scotland. But heyo, so we're back looking at Irish stuff, and we're looking at the Tethra armor set. Tethra is a Fomorian, not a king, but definitely a very, very strong warrior, and wields a specific sword called Orna. Alright, so we're looking at the armor set that Highlander's offensive heavy, Balor's Might, gets its name. Balor armor set, which I think is a very handsome set that I never see anybody using. Balor in Irish mythology was the leader of the Fomorians. So, really fucking tough dude. Are you ready for more Irish stuff? Because, boy, I am. So here we're looking at the Firbolg armor set. And you know, if you're familiar with me over the years, this is one of my favorite armor sets. I loved that the scarf was white because it stood out and it matched the helm I used. And but you know, that's changed. It's still one of my favorite armor sets. But aside from that, the Firbolg were the fourth people to settle in ancient Ireland. Firbolg translates to bagmen. I don't know. We don't really know if that's referencing their weight, or if they wore baggy clothes, or if they carried a lot of bags with them. But that's what they were referred to as, is the Firbolg. So I bet a lot of you weren't expecting this one to be on the list, but it is. We're looking at the Milesian armor set. Everyone knows the set. It's a good looking set. A lot of people use the helm because it looks really good. It's one of his first proper, or it's the most complete helmet. It's very protective. But the Milesians were a people that settled in Ireland, and they were the ones that drove the race of gods, the Tuatha De Danann, below the ground. They're the ones that, if you're Celtic and Irish, you probably have an ancestral link to the Milesians, and it is speculated that they have some sort of ancient right to the island. That's a whole nother topic for another day, but in mythology, the Milesians were very important people. And now for my favorite armor set, the Galaglass. Now, not only is this aesthetically my favorite set, it's also the one I think is the most important to Highlander because Highlander's really based off Galaglass mercenaries. Go-Go Danny mentioned it in his recent video talking about Highlander, and it's worth noting that the Galaglass, they started out as like Scottish mercenaries who ended up in Ireland. They became Irish. The Galaglass were mercenaries that existed in the looking at like the late 14th century going up into, I think, the early 17th centuries, the time span we're looking at. They used all sorts of weapons. They used something I think is just referred to as the Galaglass axe, very distinct axe. And but you also see them depicted with longbows, and you see them with Irish one-handed swords and Celtic two-handed swords. So I think it's an important reference for Highlander that he has a Galaglass set. Alright, so one of the last things we're going to be looking at is a signature for Highlander. And this isn't in Irish, this is in Scottish, which is a super cool thing and has a neat little bit of history to go over. But the pronunciation that I could come up with, because I'm not very good at Scottish, is Uvrichela. It means to unite. Now, this is a motto that's used, I think, in a couple of Scottish clans. The one I could find it most referring to is Clan Cameron. For what it's worth, that's really cool. It's a really cool bit of thing. Now, a lot of you may have just questioned yourself because that's not a Highlander weapon. And you're right. That's a Griffin Bardiche. But Griffin has an Irish-named weapon. And that word is Irish. Now, in pronunciation, that would be Anvanach. And all it means is unicorn. It's a little bit of honorable mention, because clearly this is not a very Celtic-y themed weapon. There's little bits here and there, but not really. But unicorn weapon, Irish for unicorn. I thought you guys would find that interesting. Alright, well, I hope you all found this really interesting. I am a huge fan of how much mythology, how much culture they put into these, just naming of a lot of these armors. And I'm surprised that no one has mentioned any of this, because there's so much of it. And I remember very early on in my channel, people mentioned that, like, why is your Highlander Irish? Why do you mix him with a lot of Irish music? The Highlanders are Scottish. But I hope this video has helped shed a little bit of light on that. Even from the beginning, Highlanders had a lot of Irish references to his own character. And I hope that this maybe opens up a little bit of creativity options. And I really hope you all enjoyed. So anyways, Grabuin, Slán agus.